I promised you a very special guest at the beginning of the show, and we've got one member of the NFL Hall of Fame and longtime Falcons kicker, Morten Andersen. How are we doing? Thank you for joining the show.
Doing fantastic today. Getting ready to play a little golf, so it's a good day.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! Where are you playing?
Right now, just at the River Club, little local track up here in Swanee that I belong to, and just enjoying the life, man. Really enjoying. I got a little company and a foundation, so raise money for servicemen and women, and quality life programs for kids, boys, and girls clubs, and lots of other local charities. And this is the season of giving, so this is the time to start to continue to do that.
I was actually going to touch on that a little bit later, but we could start there. It's called the Morten Andersen Family Foundation. You spoke about it a little bit. I want to give you the opportunity to kind of plug your foundation, what they can do to help you, what the people can expect if they do give. Speak on that a little bit.
We just had a big golf tournament that raised almost $250,000 for special ops and their families. And this is tip of the spear guys that go in. They're called the shadow warriors for a reason. We don't even know what they do.
Right.
And so it's a very powerful, very, very powerful testimony when we're able to help those guys. But that's just one of the things. We have several events every year. You can go to mortenandersen.com or special teams for special ops. I'm also working with a special ops guy right now who's on the cutting edge of some research and stem cell therapy for blast victims in the military. And there's a lot of correlation. I know this is a sports show. There's a lot of correlation between the CTE, the injuries we have in football when you get concussions and prolonged, repeated head trauma. That's the same in the military when if you're sitting in a tank and an IED explodes underneath that tank, that blast and those shock waves from the blast obviously affect the body and the brain. And so there's a lot of correlation that this guy has done a lot of research. And so we're looking at some of those parallels. The Harvard study on brain injuries is very well known. And so hopefully there'll be some real traction here in how we can help guys get out of depression, get out of, suicides, get out of all of these things. And this is not just NFL players, but this is servicemen and women. We lose a soldier like once, every hour. And that's just not acceptable. And it's not acceptable when I pick up the paper or I get a phone call from somebody that says so-and-so just took his own life. We have to address that. It's an epidemic. And so hopefully our foundation, in correlation with lots of other foundations, will help at least mitigate that.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. We'll transition a little bit to the football side of things. Our own Falcons, Younghoe Koo, actually, I don't know if you saw this, just overtook Justin Tucker for the NFL lead in field goal percentage. I want to know if you know the guy. You ever talked to Younghoe Koo? Yep, clap it up for Younghoe Koo.
I've never met him, no, but I mean, obviously, watch what he does on the field, and he's been money and consistency, and that's what you want from that position, is to be able to count on 3 points when you got to have them, and when it's less sexy in the first quarter, second quarter, because those points that if you don't get them, you end up chasing them. Especially with the extra points now, with being a little bit longer, you see a lot of teams going for 2 later in the game because they didn't get it earlier, didn't get that extra point. So he's been just a model of consistency and professionalism, and I look forward to meeting the guy one day.
Morten, I want to ask you, I watched an interview with you and you mentioned something, I think it was something like embrace the suck. When talking about a kicker and just the kind of psychology that you have to have as a kicker in these situations. And it's kind of a thankless job. Can you talk about the psychology of what it's like being a kicker and the mindset of what a lot of these guys have to be successful in the NFL and a job that, like, I think it's the most thankless job in all of sports. And no one's going to congratulate, maybe on a game winner, but oftentimes there's not a lot of congratulations and there's a lot of negative.
No. Well, balance is a good, you have to have balance, but in kicking, and it's kind of like that when you're a quarterback or a cornerback, you're out on an island, the feedback's immediate. Do I get burned for a go route? I either make the play or I don't make the play. Or it's same with field goals. That feedback's immediate, and we have to understand that. And it doesn't necessarily, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't define your ability to kick the football. And I think that's what I try to stress with the young guys, is that not one kick, good or bad, defines you. And then you got to have a one kick mentality. And I think what I mean by embracing the suck is being an NFL place kicker on Sunday afternoons and sometimes Monday nights, Thursday nights, etc. It's a very distasteful situation. It's not for everybody. It's something you have to embrace. You have to learn, and you have to understand that you will fail. But the thing is to fail forward and to understand that you can operate in that high level environment by meticulous preparation, and then by some techniques that you do, breathing, relaxation, visualization, and all those things. But it is a very now kind of position where the feedback's immediate. It's over very quickly. There's so much idle time. There's so much time management that you have to understand at that position, because most of your time is spent on the sideline. That's just the nature of the job. And then it's interrupted with a few seconds of terror if you're not ready. And so that has to be understood, and that has to be mastered. And you earn the right to do that every single day, year round. It's not something that you can phone in. I hear this all the time. And on Saturdays, we would gather for walkthroughs, and the offensive lineman would be out there kicking the football. Oh, I can do that. That looks easy. Nobody can do this. It's not easy. You have to earn the right. And so that's really what I mean by embracing the suck, understanding the position, defining the position, then training the position, and then owning it.
Yeah, I want to kind of build off that a little bit. And it's a question I have a lot for, and it goes across any league. It's not just football with kickers, pitchers, basketball, and it's the yips. And a lot of people have been affected by the yips. It's a so-called, this phantom in your head. You were once a knockdown 3-point shooter, or you were an ace pitcher, or in your profession, a kicker. Have you ever experienced it? If not, have you ever known somebody to experience it? If you have, kind of elaborate on how obviously you got through it. 2-time All-Pro, multiple-time Pro Bowler, been to the Super Bowl. And if you haven't been through it, do you know anybody who has potentially been through it, gotten out the other side?
Yeah, I've known lots of guys that never came out of the other side. That's probably, that's the tragedy of it. You're gonna experience times when it kind of looks hopeless. I think I missed 3 kicks in a row, and that was back in the 80s, 90s. But you just have to trust the base. Now, if I ever felt like I wasn't hitting him, that the confidence was waning a little bit, I would always go back and look at film, like old film when I was crushing the ball. I always tell my guys, just go back to basics, keep it simple, and go look at your successes. Don't spend too much time. When we miss a kick, we pretty much know right away. The horrifying thing is that when you miss a kick and you go, I don't quite understand, I didn't quite understand why I missed that. That felt pure. And then you got to refer to the film. You look at film, you look at those type of things, and then you talk to your holder and stuff, so forth. But getting over the yips it's just mental fortitude, and it's trusting your base. It's having a big enough foundation of success that you can revert back to. I think the young guys, that's where it's difficult the first couple of years, because you're trying to put skins on the wall. And in the meantime, you might be struggling, and the patience from the team side is limited, and you never get a chance. You see this all the time. Young guys, right? They get rolling a little bit, and all of a sudden, boom, here comes 2 or 3 bad ones, and then the team pulls the plug on you when you really probably should have stuck with that young kid. You see it all the time.
I think you could say that for Younghoe Koo. The Chargers probably wish they had never given up on the kid. Now look where he's at. So that's a perfect example of giving up too soon.
Yeah, giving up too soon and not giving the guy time to develop, as you do with other positions. If you look across the board, across the roster, you're not gonna cut an interior lineman unless he's absolutely blatantly getting your quarterback killed on every play, you're going to give that dude some leeway, you know. And right now, the average is about 80% accuracy, which back when I was playing, that was all pro level. Now that's just average. That's just 8 out of 10 kicks has to be made. So the parameters for kickers now are so high that the expectations are higher. And, you know, 50-yarders were like back in the day, 50-yarder was a big deal. Now the 60-yarder is like the old 50-yarder, and the 50-yarder today is like the old 40-yarder. It's unbelievable how these guys have developed, and they become victims to their own success. If you look at other positions, much more patience, much more leeway to develop these young guys. Yeah, unfortunately, there's still a stereotype out there that you can just go down on any corner in any city and grab yourself a kicker.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask you that I had on here. What was the impression of the evolution of kickers? But I got to end on this. Have you had a chance to watch this year's Falcons teams much? And if you do, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, that whole division is kind of, it's a sad state of affair, really. It's kind of mediocre at best, and that they're sitting there at 500 in first place kind of speaks to that.
We'll take it.
So, and the Saints are not doing any better. The Bucks and the poor Carolina Panthers. So, you know, turnovers is always an issue. Turning the ball over and making mistakes. That young quarterback, but you know, when your kicker accounts for, I don't know, 40, almost half of your points, you're not doing something right in the red zone. You're not doing something right in the red zone.
No.
Yeah, Morten, thank you so much for joining us. That does wrap up our show. We will be back with you guys tomorrow.